Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cutting through all the noise and confusion around one of the biggest acronyms in SEO, EEAT. You've probably heard it a million times, but what does it really mean for your website? Let's find out. Okay, let's just get right to the big one. The question that fuels so much debate and so many arguments online. Is EEAT some kind of direct, measurable signal that Google's algorithm is actively looking for?
The short answer, a very clear and definite no. There is no secret EEAT score your site gets. And, if you want the ultimate proof, just look at that massive Google API leak that revealed tons of ranking features. EEAT? It wasn't mentioned, not even once.
So, okay, if it's not a direct signal, then what in the world is it? Well, the best way to think about EEAT is as a framework, kind of like a mental model. It's basically a description of the qualities Google wants to see in helpful, trustworthy content. So what's it stand for? Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And I want you to pay extra close attention to that last one, trust. Because as you're about to see, it is the absolute foundation that holds this entire thing together. So let's really break this down. What does this framework actually mean in the real world? And maybe more importantly, is this something that every single website owner out there needs to be obsessing over?
Sean Anderson has this really great analogy to explain it. Think of it this way. If you're just living in your own house, you don't need a bunch of rules. But the second you decide to rent that house out to the public, well, now you've got to prove it's safe, that it's reliable, that it's up to code. It's the same with your website.
And that idea of renting to the public gets way, way more serious when we start talking about topics that have real-world consequences. We're talking about areas where EEAT isn't just a nice-to-have, it is absolutely critical.
Google actually has a name for these high-stakes topics, your money or your life, or YMIL for short. This is content that, if it's wrong or misleading, could seriously harm a person's health, their financial situation, or even their safety. The potential for harm is huge, so you better believe Google's standards are too. Here's a really simple test. When you're talking about stuff like medical symptoms or what to do with your money, would you just ask a friend, or would you go find a proven expert? If your content is something people would want an expert for, you're in that YML space, and the bar for EEAT is sky high.
So how does Google even start to figure out who's a real expert and who's just faking it? Well, this is where it gets really, really interesting. And spoiler alert, it has almost nothing to do with what you say on your own website.
This is the key insight right here. Google's default position is distrust. It basically assumes you're making everything up until the rest of the internet proves that you're not. So without other people, other sites validating who you are, what you claim on your own site is pretty much just noise.
And this just perfectly illustrates the huge shift in how Google thinks about authority. The old way, PageRank, that was all about what other websites thought of you, and it was measured in links. But the new way, this reputation factor, it's about what real people think, and that's measured in things like brand mentions, people searching for your name, actual conversations happening online.
Now, that off-site reputation is absolutely crucial, but it is only half the battle. You also have to do the work on your own site to really build that solid foundation of trust. And you can't just fake this stuff. As Google's own John Mueller has said, you can't just sprinkle some experience onto your site by, adding a fake bio and calling it a day. No, this is about showing real, verifiable proof that users would actually expect to find.
I mean, just think about it from a user's perspective, right? For these high-stakes topics, they're asking questions like, who actually wrote this? Who is this business? How can I get in touch with them if something goes wrong? And that's exactly why things like clear contact info, a customer service page, awards, they're not just decorations. They are essential signals of trust. So you can see how all of this, the experience, the expertise, the authority, it's all pointing to one single thing. It's the most important element in this whole framework. And that is trust. It is the ultimate goal.
And let me tell you, the stakes for getting trust wrong are enormous. There's this wild example from Google's own guidelines, where a single, poorly written terms of use page, the kind of thing most of us ignore, was enough to get an entire site flagged as low quality. Why? Because it just screams a lack of care and accountability.
And it can create this catastrophic domino effect. A single weak on-site signal leads to a poor overall trust assessment. That can lead Google's systems to mark your whole site as low quality, which basically puts you in the spam category. And trust me, that is not a place you want to be.
So after all that, you might be wondering, why does all this matter?
What's the real payoff for getting EEAT right? Well, the benefits go way, way beyond just search rankings.
When it comes right down to it, demonstrating EEAT is just good business. It's what gives a visitor the confidence they need to actually become a customer. It's how you stand out from all the noise out there and build a credible brand that people can rely on for the long haul.
And honestly, ignoring these foundational things is just a terrible strategy. As Sean Anderson puts it, why on earth would you go and spend $100,000 on an SEO campaign and then just ignore the basic easy stuff that actually builds the trust you need to make it all work?
So, if there's one big thing to take away from all this, it's this. Stop thinking about EEAT as some technical checklist you have to complete for an algorithm. Start thinking about it as a promise you're making to your users. The real question isn't, what does Google want? It's, are you building a site that actually proves its worth to people?